Hello there and a very warm welcome to Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Now, in what was a historic event, the African Union in its 54-year history focused its summit on winning the fight against corruption as a sustainable path to Africa's transformation, naming Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, whose 2015 campaign was based on rooting out corruption in the country, as the man to lead this campaign. That has, however, drawn mixed reactions from different quarters, and that will be our focus on the program today. But let's first take a look at trending topics in the past week.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria picked the silver medal at the African Nations Championship, playing 6 matches in the process. The home-based Eagles won 4 matches, drew 1, and lost 1 to come second in the competition, organized for players playing in the continent alone.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. But joining us now to look at the topic of the day, we have Femi Ajasa, who joined us in the studio. Thanks for joining us on the program today.
So thank you.
Of course. Yeah. And also on the Hangout, we have Kazim Sulaiman, who joins us from Lagos, Nigeria. Kazim, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. Of course. And then we have Bede Chukwuekeze, who joins us from Hartfield in the United Kingdom. Thanks for joining us as well. Thank you very much once again. But then let me come back to you, Femi, to kickstart this conversation. Okay. For the purpose of context, how would you define corruption?
I think basically corruption is the entirety of the act at which people, attract undue favor at the detriment of the society.
At the detriment of the society.
Yes.
So do you think, I mean, with the way corruption or with the way the anti-corruption fight has been going now, would you say we have institutions that support the fight against corruption?
We do have set institutions that support fight against corruption, but then probably they are not doing it well.
To the extent that
they're expected to carry out their activities.
All right, I'll come back to you in a bit. Bede, let me come back to you now. Let's look at the progress that has been made by this administration, because they've recovered some monies from officials. They've also busted a few judges. That is one of the preludes, or that is one of the reasons why the AU felt that President Muhammadu Buhari should be named as the anti-corruption, or should be chosen as the one who will lead the fight against corruption in Africa. And as you know, a report by the AU says that Africa loses around $50 billion annually through illicit financial flows. Bede.
Yeah. I can say that, most of all these recoveries and all those things, for me, they are paper talks. Now, there is a difference between fighting a corrupt person and fighting corruption in a country. Doing all these fire brigade approach, grab and munch, just you go and grab somebody, put him in prison, or even some, they don't even arrest them, and a court will give an order to forfeit something. Those things are nonsense, because there is a difference between court order and court judgment. Court judgment carries the power of finality, but court orders are just orders judges can make. They didn't follow any laid down prosecution routes. There were no evidences and the rest of them. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not holding brief for any corrupt person. Every corrupt individual should be prosecuted, and whatever he has stolen should be retrieved from him. But these guys are just waiting for Buhari to step out, and they will go to court challenging all those orders. And you will find out that at the end of the day, most of those things will be returned to them. Now, for me, if someone wants to fight corruption in a country like Nigeria or anywhere, you don't fight corruption based on the whims of the president. The president should make sure or facilitate laws that will make our anti-corruption institutions very, very strong. We have ICPC, we have EFCC, but these guys look as if to say they are working for the president. How can you tell me that you are fighting corruption when in history of Nigeria, you constituted the most corrupt cabinet based on the amount of money alleged to have been stolen by individuals? How can you tell me you're fighting corruption and your anti-corruption head is accused of many corrupt practices? The IG of police is accused of corrupt practices. The head of the army, the secretary to the state government, and then you are going around with a lot of corrupt people. That is not how to fight corruption. So if they want to fight corruption, we feel that Buhari should step away from leading the fight against corruption, because if he's not there tomorrow, what will happen? Just like what happened in 1983 to 85. He was there arresting people, and immediately he left, we now had a regime that was as corrupt as anything you can call corruption.
Well, that's left for the courts to decide. But that brings me again to the question of institutions. You made mention of the ICPC. You made mention of the EFCC as well. How strong can these institutions be, not only in Nigeria but also across other African countries? What should presidents be doing to empower? What should presidents be doing to empower these institutions to be stronger than personalities?
What the president is supposed to be doing is sponsoring executive bills in the National Assembly to make laws that will give these institutions financial independence, clear path of succession. They should be able to get people into that office without recourse to the legislators or the president. The institution is supposed to be able to get their own leaders, like you have been here for 2 years, this, and then you become the leader. But if they cannot do that and they still depend on the government for money, they depend on the government to appoint the head. There's a saying that says that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. It's just like when the Senate said we do not approve Magu because of what the DSS wrote about him, and the president goes around and says he's going to be there. So there is already a conflict. It means that Magu is doing something for the president that does not represent the interest of the country, because the country has given the Senate the power to represent them at this point in time in confirming appointees. So for me, if the president wants to be serious about the fight against corruption, he should focus on making the institutions that are anti-corruption institutions very strong, and be in a way that they can be able to work as good as they want to work, whether he is there or not.